Welcome to the Modern Tech Leaders. I'm your host, Christian Galvan. From the research triangle to the world, join us as we uncover the stories behind the leaders driving innovation in technology. On weeks where a guest is not scheduled, I will provide weekly reflections on business, cybercrime, and future predictions of human culture. Get ready to be inspired and stay ahead of the game with the Modern Tech Leaders. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're having a phenomenal week. And if you're not, well, hopefully listening to this episode gives you the necessary tools to take control of your career as we dive into various hot topics and as I provide my analysis on what I've been keeping up with. As I'm recording this episode, I'm also preparing to watch the UFC 284 event tonight, where Volkanovski will be facing Islam Makhachev. You might be wondering how this relates to this episode. Well, yesterday I saw a video where Mark Zuckerberg invites Volkanovski to Meta headquarters and they put on some VR wearables. Then they proceeded to have a MMA sparring session in the Metaverse, which I found super fascinating. The technology looks insane, and mad respect to Mark Zuckerberg, who started training jiu-jitsu with his whole family. So let's check this video out.
What do you think of my gym?
It looks incredible.
All right, should we do this?
Let's do it.
And action.
Ooh, there you go.
That's pretty good.
Again. Oh, good counter too. How was that counter?
All right, that was fun playing around. Now let's actually go for it. All right, man, go get that second belt.
All right, mate. Hey, I've been working too hard. They ain't taking it from me.
Wow. So what do we think about that? It's pretty insane. As a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, I really enjoy hearing about how many technologists are getting into the sport. Certainly prevents mental burnout, and it helps find a hobby outside of your own job, which prevents it from becoming your own only personality. And trust me, I've suffered from that, from being in tech for almost a decade. Well, anyways, let's dive into today's episode. The first topic that we're going to be covering is the explosion of AI. And I wanted to start off with a personal story about some information that I gathered over a decade ago to where we are now in 2023. So when I was a teenager, I was curious. I always needed to know the why behind everything. And I'm still like that, which has allowed me to be pretty successful in my career. One of the days when I was researching on the internet, I was looking deep into the web. I found an interesting prediction about how by 2030, 70% of jobs were going to be automated by AI or some sort of technology. When I read this information, it was probably 2012, 2011 timeframe. And even though it sounded scary to think about at that time, I knew that I was going to go into technology, and no matter what, I was going to pursue my passion. As we fast forward to 2023, it is really crazy to reflect on that, because now we're living in a moment where we're having all these tech layoffs. We're having a financial recession that is glooming over the market. And additionally, we're having an explosion of AI at the same time, where all these new tools that didn't exist a couple of years ago are now coming out to the market. And it wasn't that long ago when you would hear various engineers saying, hey, I really don't think we should be having AI in marketing campaigns. This is really machine learning disguised behind the marketing. But it seems like we've approached a time where AI is getting quite impressive and starting to get advanced. So from my experience, from what I'm seeing right now with the trends, is that AI is here to stay, And in order to not get left behind, we have to learn the basics, we have to learn the fundamentals, and we have to stay ahead. So, what do you do in the midst of AI becoming more popular by the day? My first suggestion would be, one, get familiar with what machine learning is, understand what the difference between machine learning and artificial intelligence is, learn about some common models that exist out there, learn about data sets, and figure out which free projects you can use that are out there on the internet. My suggestion would be get familiar with ChatGPT, open an account with OpenAI. That would be my first step. So over the past few months, I've definitely been interacting with text-to-image AI such as DALL-E from OpenAI, and what that does, which I showed on one of my other videos on YouTube, was that you can type in some text and you'll be able to get some generated image done by an AI model, and it's pretty neat. Additionally, I've been playing around with ChatGPT, interacting with the chatbot functionality. Additionally, there's different copywriting AI out there where you can give it some parameters. Let's say I want you to give me a persuasive blog. These are the things I want you to talk about. I want you to talk about an Apple product. Tell me what the privacy concerns are, and give me 5 paragraphs. And then it will go ahead and generate a blog post. So those are the various tools that I've been using over the past couple months. And I will say I'm pretty impressed with these tools, yet they do not replace an experienced individual yet. They're able to provide solid output, and the way that I would compare it to is someone who is early on in their career, such as a junior, or someone who's just getting started their first year in, let's say, a marketing job, a software developer, or even a writer. So my suggestion would be, since we covered AI is here to stay, one, get familiar with these tools, understand what the gaps are, because there are plenty of gaps right now while we're still early. Once you've recognized those gaps, the best step is get good at solving those gaps and become consistent at sharing those solutions that you're providing to those gaps, and do that enough, and you will certainly be on your way to becoming great within your own respective industry. So if I were a lawyer, a software engineer, a cybersecurity professional, a copywriter, a marketing professional, I would be signing up to learn how these AI technologies work to stay afloat. So now we're gonna move into a quick summary over the past month and what I've been gathering on OpenAI. And for those who have not been keeping up with what OpenAI is an AI research and deployment company. Their mission is to ensure that artificial intelligence benefits all of humanity. So that's what OpenAI is. And in the past couple of weeks, Microsoft extended its partnerships with OpenAI to a multi-year, multi-billion-dollar investment. So this means that Microsoft is going to be partnering with this company. They're going to be improving their infrastructure, their models, their tools that they use in Azure Cloud. Microsoft is also going to be investing in integrating this into various products, some that you're probably familiar with, such as Word, PowerPoint, Microsoft Teams, Bing, the search engine. And speaking on Bing, there was an article from The Verge not long ago, about a week ago, where a student who was going to Bing.com, he was browsing, and he noticed that the UI looked very similar to that of ChatGPT. So he reported it to a couple of news outlets, and shortly after that, it seemed like that functionality had been removed. And long and behold, that's around the same time that Microsoft was announcing that they would be integrating it. Additionally, ChatGPT released its 4th version in January, so they're iterating and improving this technology at a rapid pace. Let's check when ChatGPT was released. When was ChatGPT was released in November 30th of 2022, and by January 30th, they already had a 4th version released, which is insane. So, with ChatGPT taking over the internet, it's one of the hottest topics. I turn on the news, people are talking about ChatGPT. I listen to podcasts, people are talking about ChatGPT, but there are still very few people who actually understand how machine learning works, what AI is. Most people are talking about it from a superficial level. So my suggestion one would be to go learn about it. I have a video on my YouTube channel on how to get started with ChatGPT and how to use it to protect small businesses. So feel free to check that one out, where I go over some high level information about how the model works on the back end. So what does this really mean since we're talking about ChatGPT? Well, Google finally has a competitor, and it's been a long time since Google has had a competitor. They've been taking this very serious to the point that they are working on creating a rival, and they actually did release a rival AI chatbot called Bard, Bard. And unfortunately, this new chatbot made a factual mistake about discoveries of the James Webb Telescope during its first demo, which led to its shares dropping by $100 billion. That's a whopping number, which this will translate to about a 9% decrease in the market on a normal day. So NPR also reported that while this was happening, Microsoft shares rose by 3% as they were announcing their integration with Bing. So let's check out what Bing looks like as of this moment. So here, when we go to Bing, we can click on the chat option, and it looks like chat mode is only available when you have access to the new Bing. And you can join a waitlist to be able to sign up to this new integrated Bing. So when we click on learn more, here we can see that the UI is very similar to that of OpenAI's ChatGPT. So when I click on create a 3-course menu, I click on it, and here on this text box, you can see that it has a very similar prompt response. So that is pretty neat. I would certainly suggest folks join the waitlist and start exploring with this new version of Bing. So while we're still on the topic of artificial intelligence, last month in January, I was in Rhode Island for my grad program, and we did have a special guest who joined us during one of the residential sessions, and their topic was on AI ethics, and their presentation sparked great interest in the audience. This individual, they were a subject matter expert. They work with regulators. They regularly go to the White House, and they were talking about some of the areas where ChatGPT needs to make improvements. So some of those areas were that ChatGPT currently it lacks inclusiveness. There's been an increase of third world countries being exploited as ghost prompters are being hired to be able to respond to people as they're typing in questions, and this leads to economic imbalance. Of course, anytime someone does a presentation, I take it with a grain of salt. My take is that I love ChatGPT. And although there are these ethical improvements that need to be made, I would suggest individuals to be aware that AI and machine learning, it is written by humans, and holding a machine in its early stages to that of moral standards of a human, we're always going to find flaws, and we're always going to find that these systems are lacking in that. So my suggestion, in order to explore ChatGPT and how it can improve your day-to-day tasks, would be to use ChatGPT in a way where it can be used for engineering purposes, marketing purposes, writing, creativity, creating plans that you need, templates, really to automate your cognitive task and enhance creativity. That's how I've been using it. And of course, I would not at this moment be asking ChatGPT what is the meaning of life, and to teach me about morality. There was a lot of information which was pulled from Reddit, so I would still not be focused on asking ChatGPT those type of moral questions. And the reason why this was fascinating during that week is because the day prior, we were talking a lot about strategic choices, the psychology of humans, and how we have come to create values in society. And we started talking about two topics. One of them was utilitarianism, what it means, and the other one was deontology. So from a high level, utilitarianism means whatever utility or whatever choice is made that benefits most of society, that's a good choice, and that would fall under that category. From a deontology perspective, or a moral issue, it would be focusing on, hey, there are these sacred values that we must uphold, and anything that destroys them or tries to harm them is wrong. And definitely when we're talking about AI and capitalism, I do feel that it's still very early on, and these are going to be areas of discussion which will be improved over the next years to come. One of the things that we talked about too was that as a founder or as a CEO or even a C-suite executive, majority of those individuals, they tend to think on the aspect of how can I get the most utility out of this company that we've created and that we're launching, while most of middle management and employees, they might have more of a deontology type view of the company. So I think it's fun conversations and things we should all be exploring. On a tech news front, researchers at Carnegie Mellon University have been able to create full body images using simple household Wi-Fi routers. This technology could revolutionize healthcare, security, gaming, imaging, potentially even government contracting, and many other industries. However, always a however, it could present many privacy issues due to technology being able to monitor people's movements through walls without their knowledge or consent. During this research, they were doing it with people who did give their consent, but let's explore how these techniques work. It involves analyzing the amplitude and phase of Wi-Fi signals to find interference, and then using AI algorithms to produce an image. And here I will share with you the white paper on this. You can certainly go to ri.cmu.edu and look for person and Wi-Fi. And here we can see that the deep neural network for in-person Wi-Fi mapping uses segmentation to be able to determine what is going on in that room, and if there's any interference to the electromagnetic frequency in that room between the Wi-Fi routers, then they can begin mapping out images of individuals as they're doing day-to-day tasks in that room. Find this pretty cool. The name of that document is Person and Wi-Fi, Fine-Grained Person Perception Using Wi-Fi. Mouthful. What this also reminds me of is several years ago, probably about 2016, there was an article, I will share that, where a Las Vegas hotel was putting Amazon Echo in every hotel room. And the reason why I linked it to this one is right now they're using Wi-Fi routers to be able to map out the image of folks in a room. Amazon Echoes were being placed in hotel rooms in Las Vegas in 2016. And a couple of years later, it was identified that through smart devices such as Amazon Echoes or Alexas, they could also detect whether someone was in a room. So I kind of find this a little bit correlated. So certainly smart devices in the next couple of years will continue to make it into everyday Americans' homes. So definitely being aware of the privacy concerns and understanding how to use it, its implications, will definitely help you stay ahead of the game. Additionally, I don't know how cool it is, but in a report that I found is that the CIA and FBI supposedly have control over Amazon Alexa. And the judiciary report, they're claiming that it could be tapped. So they sent a letter to the FBI. So a Gizmodo writer filed a Freedom of Information request with the FBI to ask whether the agency had ever wiretapped an Amazon Echo. And he got a letter back from the FBI saying that they could never confirm nor deny such a thing. Well, I'll let your imagination decide on whether they have or have not. Earlier today, we were talking about the cool VR set at wearables that Mark Zuckerberg was using at Meta headquarters as he was having a sparring session with a UFC champion so they could spar in the Metaverse. Apple has recently unveiled that this spring they will be releasing a new AR and VR headset, and the cost of that is around $3,000. So now moving on to a more business-oriented segment of today's episode, I'm going to be going over Fire Hydrant's benchmark report. This is an incident response platform, and they were able to collect information from 50,000 incidents between 2019 and 2022, and they have the data on what is normal anyways on average when it comes to incident response and incident management. And this is important for anyone who's an executive, individual contributor in technology, or an analyst. This information will help you understand what is normal across various different companies of all sizes. So at a small company between 0 to 599 employees, 10 incidents per month were the average. Medium-sized businesses, 600 to 2,400, 22 incidents per month. Large enterprises, 2,500 to 6,000 employees, 49 incidents per month, which is the most out of all the various company sizes. And lastly, enterprises with 6,000 or more employees, 37 incidents per month. Now let's look at the time of day. Most of these incidents that were analyzed occurred midweek on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays between the hours of 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. So certainly, if you're a remote worker, be looking at the logs between 11 and 2 p.m. On average, the mean time to resolution was 24 hours and 5 minutes. So this certainly helps us understand how long it takes to resolve a complex incident. Low severity incidents on average took about 30 minutes to resolve. Now let's look at some more detailed data. So the average responder team size based on various severities were 6 responders, and that seemed to be the magic number. Their mean time to respond increased by 18% when number of responders jumped on by even one responder, and that's across all severities. And when these companies and teams had specific roles and responsibilities assigned, their mean time to respond and recover improved by 42%. So the key takeaway on this was that it's not just about having the right number of people in the room. It's about ensuring that each person knows their role and expectations during the incident response process. Having a service catalog in the company, and you can think of this as all the various departments, teams, roles, and responsibilities that everyone has in a way that can be looked up by other employees in the department in self-service fashion. That service catalog decreased the mean time to resolution by 36% when it was used. And it looks like on average, teams that chatted between each other when they had a conference bridge, they had fewer messages. So it seems like having a conference bridge is the most efficient way to go. And I hope you learned something from getting that information of what lessons were learned from 50,000 incidents. Now, for the last segment of today's episode, we're going to be going over 3 hot takes. And in the hot takes, I'm going to be sharing my opinions on something that I read, giving it a yay, nay, or neutral. Yay means, wow, I found this pretty beneficial. It's really cool. I could see how this could be of positive impact. Nay being, I don't really agree with this topic, or this is impacting people negatively. And neutral being, I don't really care about it. So the first one is, I was reading that some TikTok employees have the ability to sidestep their platform algorithm, and they're able to boost videos by selecting which ones go into the recommended For You pages. There's a feature called heating, which is aimed at introducing new users, celebrities, and emerging creators to the TikTok community, and it allows the company to diversify their content and improve the user experience. TikTok claims that less than 1% of videos in the For You feeds are heated, but an external report claims that heated videos make up to 2% of daily video views. So what are your thoughts on this? Comment on Instagram, reach to me on Twitter at Galvan Hacking, whether you think this is a good thing or bad thing that TikTok employees are able to determine what goes viral and what doesn't. From my own perspective, if it were a different platform that was manipulating what was being shown to you, it would certainly be more controversial. So I'm going to stick with neutral for now. Now let's move on to the next topic. And I definitely think this is a topic that I wanted to cover because I learned a lot of new information. And this one's on tech layoffs. And for all of the folks in my network or those listening, if you've been affected by a layoff, I'm terribly sorry. And I've recently been reading more on it, and it has increased my empathy for those affected. I read an article by Jeffrey Pfeffer, a Stanford scholar, whose article in summary shows evidence that when a few companies begin to fire their staff, more companies will follow suit. And this is because of a social contagion effect / copycat behavior. For those that don't know, and this was a term that I also learned, social contagions definition is the spread of an entity or influence between individuals in a population via interactions between agents. Examples of this are when fads are spread, rumors, and or riots. Additional information that I found on his literature was that people who are laid off are 2 times or more likely to commit suicide. This was heartbreaking learning about this. Additionally, he covers that additional consequences of layoffs are that if you stay at your company, your stress levels will increase by default. And some of the immediate impacts are overeating, added stress, increased drug take, and others are impacted by depression. So my suggestion would certainly be to seek medical advice and to be around a positive group of people who uplift you and care deeply about you. I have seen that many people on LinkedIn feel like they just need to help out, and I commend them for it. I've reposted and liked many job boards that have been published, and it seems like now almost every week there's a post with 5 to 10 job boards and different companies hiring. So definitely folks are applying to get a job, and certainly let's do our best. Let's do our best and keep resharing anything that can help others out. So my hot take on this one is a nay, just due to the fact that I wasn't aware of how many side effects, such as suicidal rate going up, increase of depression, increase of drug take, happens as a byproduct of companies laying employees off. And the worst part is that some companies don't even need to lay their employees off. They're doing it in order to keep suit with the big tech companies. And yeah, my hot take on that one was a nay. For the last one, I've read a Substack blog post called Confessions of an InfoSec Has-Been. And this was a very good post, and I would recommend anyone in technology or business to read about it. You don't have to be in information security to be able to find it relevant to your industry. It talked about aspects of breaking into the tech industry, what it's like being an individual contributor, what happens when you go into management, and some of the limitations or interesting novelties about it. Additionally, it covered a few points on looking at the big picture of your career. The one thing that I started reflecting on was that when I read that most technical arguments are personality clashes in disguise, which made me realize that certainly I have been witness to people who have a higher tolerance to individuals that they like, regardless of how many errors or technical mistakes they make, while others, they go into technical battles almost in every meeting. And I wonder if that's because of their personality clashes. Something that I've learned through my career is that establishing diplomacy and having clear communication is what leads to having successful professional relationships. Even if you don't like each other, it's about getting the job done and aligning to the mission of the company. So again, this blog was found on Substack, and the name of it was Confessions of an InfoSec Has-Been. I found it quite helpful when I came across it on LinkedIn. So if you enjoyed today's episode, send me your comments and questions to Galvan Hacking on Twitter using the Modern Tech Leaders hashtag. Peace.